Gonna reel us in and call the meeting to order at 9:02 a.m. Thank you everybody for joining us. Yes, I love this. I'm so excited to have my Joe Halco crasher. Thank you everybody for joining us this morning at our Franklin Grand Isle Community Partnership meeting. In good orderly fashion, we're gonna start by doing introductions and just say your name, organization, role if you'd like, and something that you're grateful for. There is a 40-second time limit, so maybe I can get somebody with a really fun sound effect to keep track, which I don't really think we've had people go over, and if they do, it's usually, I'm not. Yeah, just the door is locked, so maybe just have it shut where it's slightly open. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna start by calling people on the screen who are on Zoom. And I'm going to start with the first name that had popped up. I see Ben, so you get to kick us off, Ben.
Fantastic, thank you. Ben Kaufman, I'm the program director at Samaritan House. This feels like a tough morning to find something to be grateful for. But I am grateful that my daughter woke up blissfully unaware, just happy to be home with her parents. So I'm grateful for that this morning.
Thank you, Ben. And Tracy.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Thomason, and I am the Director of Savita Operations for all of the Savitas in Vermont. Today, I am very grateful that tomorrow morning, for the next couple days, I am going to be on a women's retreat.
Ooh, yay.
Tracy, first time.
Thank
Right?
you,
Good
Tracy.
timing.
And the next person is Sarah.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Hull, the RN Care Manager at Savita in St. Albans, and this morning I'm thankful for coworkers. Wonderful coworkers.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Next person is Sadara.
Good morning. My name is Sadara. I'm one of the RN Care Coordinators at the Notch in St. Albans. This morning I am grateful that my cats woke me up blissfully and sweetly instead of jumping on me.
Awesome. Thank you, Sadara. And Jen.
I am Jen Pease. I'm the other RN Care Coordinator at St. Albans currently, and I am thankful for community partnerships.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. And Kate.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kate. I am the Vermont Area Manager for EverHealth. And this morning I am grateful that we've had some amazing sunsets and sunrises that I've been able to see. And the only good thing that we get from this time of day is I'll take it.
Awesome. Thank you. Courtney.
Good morning, guys. Courtney Whittemore. I am the Reentry Services Director with Franklin Grand Isle Restorative Justice Center. And this morning I am grateful for my amazing support system, both family and professional. And coffee. I'm very grateful for coffee.
Thank you, Courtney. Jessica.
Hi, good morning. I'm Jessica Moore. I'm the pastor of First Congregational Church, United Church of Christ, a progressive Christian community. I had a feeling, Ben, right now, a little challenging, but I am really grateful for loving, resilient community and community partnerships like this one.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. And Michelle.
Hi, good morning. I'm Michelle Treyat, Northwestern Counseling and Support Services Parent-Child Center. I'm really grateful this morning for family. For my 5 siblings and I were able to get together last weekend in the freezing cold and finish a much-needed siding project at my parents' house. So I'm grateful we got it done, and just all get to spend time together.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Randy. And that's Randy Allen.
I'm here and I just sat down again. What did I miss?
You just got called on. So your name, organization, something you're grateful for.
I'm Randy. I'm a recovery coach at Turning Point in Franklin County. And I am so grateful that I have a meeting that I chair at a local shelter. And it was last night and it was so fantastic. I can't even tell you. So that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Randy. Thank you for what you do. Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth Burgess with Vermont 211. I'm a database curator and the marketing specialist. And I'm grateful to live in Vermont.
Thanks, Beth. And Michelle Williams. Okay, maybe she had to step away, so I'll come back. Jess.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jess Kraft with Franklin Grand Isle Community Action, and this morning I'm grateful for the beautiful sunrise that I saw the moment I opened my eyes, right outside my bedroom window. Gorgeous sky. It was very restorative.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. Erin?
Hey folks, I'm Erin Crayley. I'm the District Director for the St. Albans Office of Local Health, part of Vermont Department of Health. I also use she, her pronouns. I am grateful today for the helpers. Fred Rogers reminds us when things are confusing or scary to look for the helpers, and I'm looking at a screen full of helpers today, and I'm incredibly grateful for you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Erin. Katie?
Hi, I'm Katie DeForge. I'm from the Turning Point of Franklin County in St. Albans, and today I'm grateful for the warmer weather.
Awesome. And do you have another Katie with you today or no?
I do.
Katie? I was going to say Katie D, but you're both Katie Ds. Katie Doyle.
Unmute.
Yeah.
Good morning. Sorry, I was eating a burrito. I work for the Turning Point in Franklin County as a recovery coach. And I'm grateful for that. Although the weather said the wind was like 12 miles an hour, that when I was walking to work today, it wasn't that bad. So I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. Kristen.
Good morning, I'm Kristen Pryor, sorry to be late. I am the field director for Franklin, Grand Isle, and Lamoille counties. And I am grateful for the sunshine and warm weather this morning. And yeah, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And I believe I called everybody who's via Zoom, but just one, oh, Michelle. I think I just saw you come off mute. Whoop. And connecting to audio. Okay, I'm gonna give her just a second because I don't want her to be missed. Michelle Williams.
She said her audio was struggling. But...
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, yeah.
That's okay, I got it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry for my appearance. I haven't been feeling good. Michelle Bissett, Advocate Outreach Coordinator for Domestic Sexual Violence at the Abenaki Nation, Missisquoi. And I have a new granddaughter coming.
Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Did we get everybody on Zoom? I feel like we did. If we didn't, feel free to shout out, but otherwise I'm gonna bring us to the room and I will start to my left with Chad.
Good morning, everybody. Chad Fallon, chronic disease designee with the Office of Local Health. I am thankful. It's been a busy wedding season, but my partner and I had our final wedding of the year, so we're happy to get through it.
Awesome.
All right. Hi, I'm Danielle Roberts, and today I'm thankful that we have our annual meeting and recognition night for NCSS, so it should be a really nice night with some good food, and I'm thankful that we're able to recognize Melinda for one of our awards, for one of our Community Partner Awards.
Thank you. Nicole Cunningham, Engagement Specialist with My Healthy Vermont, with the Department of Population Health at NMC. And this morning, also grateful to be in a room full of helpers. That's something that I've shared with my children as we navigate wild situations, and I've leaned on that heavily with my teenagers this morning. So thank you all for being helpers.
So I'm Tracy Osterhout. I'm one of the clinical managers at the VNA and Hospice of the Southwest region here in Franklin County, which we were formerly Franklin County Home Health. And I am grateful for, similar to Tracy Online, starting tomorrow night, I have a girls' weekend. We're going away, so I am very much looking forward to that, spending some time with my people. So.
Awesome. I'm Kathleen Shadow. I'm the rector at Holy Trinity Episcopal Church in Swanton. And this morning, and a couple other people have said this, I was really grateful for the beauty of the sky when I forced myself out of bed and through tears to take a walk.
John Gordon, Sheldon United Methodist Church Food Shelf. Kind of like Ben, I really struggled this morning to try to figure out something to say I was thankful for. But as a lot of other people have pointed out, this group and everything that this group means to people in this community is definitely something to be thankful for. And I meet with a couple of other groups that also share that same kind of sentiment. I'm part of a group called Connectional Table with the United Methodist Church, the New England Conference, and I'm part of a cluster. We call ourselves the Northwest Cluster because I guess we're in the northwest of the New England Conference here on the east coast of the Champlain, Lake Champlain. And I'm also thankful. My food shelf was kind of looking a little bare a few days ago, and we just got a huge shipment of food came in on Tuesday. And we've come up with a couple other sources of food too, so our food shelf is looking pretty full again.
Oh, great. My name's Mary Pickner. I'm the substance use prevention consultant for Franklin and Grand Isle County, currently with Division of Substance Use Programs at the Vermont Department of Health. I am grateful, as many have said, for the people who are in my life who have helped get me through and carry me through to this place that I am today. And I think without all of you, it would be really hard to be able to be in the world.
My name is Melinda White, recovery coach.
I've got one little thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Because it's important to you.
Okay.
Today is National Nacho Day.
Oh, yes,
Sorry,
National
now go ahead.
Nacho Day. Katie is close with a burrito. She must have. Awesome. And actually, before I go, I just want to recognize our Northwest Access TV rock star who is filming, Hunter. And Hunter, would you like to say something you're grateful for today?
Sure. I'm grateful for Green Mountain Coffee. It's like what's keeping me from being asleep behind the wheel.
Awesome. Thank you, Hunter, and thank you for faithfully being here. My name is Melinda White, recovery coach supervisor in the emergency department, and also Vermont Blueprint MAT lead, which is medication assisted treatment lead. I am really grateful for the people in my life. I just got back from a trip to see family in Florida and got to have a Florida Halloween and dressed up my Dotson hot dog in a banana costume. That was really fun. And then also to come back home, and especially with the people I work with. I'm grateful that being in recovery, I am reminded on the daily that I have control over nothing but my thoughts and my actions. And when I remember that, it doesn't matter what's going on around me. It's just about staying strong within and knowing that the little bit that I do have control over is to attempt to be a force for good and to help people regardless of what's going on. And what fuels me for that is connecting with some people who are so extremely broken in their addiction and homelessness and all this stuff, and yet they're so resilient and so beautiful, so strong, and they just inspire me to keep on wanting to help and to go on. And I see, like, you know, even looking at the screen, Sarah's nodding. There's so many people that get that, right? Like, some of the people that the world may view as the most broken or the most beautiful diamonds that I get the blessing of encountering on the regular. So really grateful for the community I live in, the people I work with. Many of you are literally family to me. So super blessed for that. And I do see some people popping on the screen, and I want to make sure that we don't miss anybody with introductions because we have such a great community. So I just saw Andrew pop up. And Andrew, if you'd like to do an introduction, your name or organization is something you're grateful for, and then I'll go to Deb after.
Thanks, Melinda. Morning, everybody. My name's Andrew. I'm the program supervisor at the Howard Center in St. Albans, and something I am grateful for is my 5-year-old daughter. Yeah.
Awesome.
Very simple. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. And Deb? Just so you know, Deb, I see that you unmuted. We don't hear you yet. Oop, almost.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. Deb William, Caring Service Coordination Supervisor at A12, and I am thankful for the warm weather, and I'm also thankful that the election is at least over, but I won't go into any more detail than that.
Thank you, Deb. I believe we got everybody, and I'm going to pull up the agenda just briefly. So the next thing is to approve the meeting minutes from October 2nd, and that was in the packet that was sent out prior to the meeting. So if there's anybody who is comfortable giving a motion if there weren't any edits.
I can make a motion to approve the minutes from the October 2nd, 2024 meeting.
Thank you, Nicole. And do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Awesome. So a motion from Nicole, a second from John. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Since I was responsible for it, I like to
Yeah.
get them passed before anybody can complain.
So the next thing on our agenda is we want to acknowledge Crystal Lampman had been on the PELT, the Partnership Executive Lead Team, for a while, and with some shifting in duties was no longer able to be part of it. So she did step down, but I just want to publicly thank her. We love Crystal. She's awesome. She's amazing. She's still responsive when we reach out, but just unable to be on the PELT team. And we also recruited 2 new PELT members. So I would just want to do a public thank you and introduction for Chad and for Danielle. They have been unbelievably helpful. Just amazing. Super excited to get 2 great rock stars. I know a lot of people heard me probably a little bit. It was anxiety inducing to lose Joe because we love him so much. He's such a force for good. He was just so strong, and it was a little bit anxiety inducing, and with him leaving us, which I don't have negative feelings because I love him and I'm happy he's retired, so he doesn't have to feel too guilty about leaving us. But with his departure, it was a breath of fresh air to get Danielle and Chad on. So thank you again for joining our Partnership Executive Lead Team. Another thing I want to point out, and I don't know, some might have even seen me changing it, our December meeting, so this is the first time as far as I know in the history of the partnership that we've needed to move the meeting from the first Wednesday to the second Wednesday, and that's because historically every June and December it's our meeting with our legislators. And Lisa Hanko had reached out to me a couple weeks ago and said that they need to be in Montpelier on that first Wednesday, and it looks like this might be a regular moving forward. So for December's meeting, it's not going to be the first Wednesday, it's going to be the second Wednesday, December 11th, and we'll make sure through your emails that you get notification and reminders of that. but there will not be a meeting the first Wednesday of December. It will be the second Wednesday. The other little change is that we're starting a half hour early. So it'll be from 8 to 10. From 8 to 8:30 is networking and arrival. People joining on Zoom, sometimes, joining at 8 on the nose or right on the nose may not feel like the best use of your time because we don't see a lot of networking happening on Zoom, and that can be complicated. But for people coming in person between 8 and 8:30, we'll be networking with our legislators, and then from 8:30 to 10 is the actual meeting. So we're going to make sure to continue to remind people that the December meeting is going to be December 11th, the second Wednesday of the month, from 8 to 10.
Cookie swap?
And we will have a cookie swap, so please bring your homemade goods, your store purchase pretending to be homemade goods to the cookie swap, and that just makes a little bit of fun here. And also our legislators love that. I've always heard where you bring food, people will come. The other thing I wanted to point out on the agenda is that the agenda I sent out to everyone has changed. Sadly, our presenter that was scheduled for today reached out to me yesterday, and the whole family has COVID, and she was unable to present. I've had Candace and her family in thoughts and prayers, and hoping that they're feeling a little bit better, and we'll get them back onto the agenda a different time. But when I shared my gratitude for the community partners that I work with, another thing I had in mind, and I knew I could share it here without running out of 40 seconds, is that on very last minute, I was able to get agreement from Jess Graff with Community Action, a program of CVOEO, Ben Kaufman with Samaritan House, Tim's House, another program of CVOEO, and Courtney Whittemore with the Franklin Grand Isle Restorative Justice Center to agree to be our presenters today. There's been, as we know, there's a lot of focus on housing in the community and people that are struggling with, just resources. And these two organizations and three people I've been working with for years now and are my go-tos for so many things. So I asked them if they would share just a little bit about maybe some of the statistics that we're seeing right now. But most importantly, what the resources are for individuals and people that are struggling with homelessness, also with Resource Connection. Restorative Justice Center offers so much that when I meet with partners that might be a little bit newer in their positions, and they say they haven't connected with the Restorative Justice Center, that's usually one of the first warm handoffs I do. So without further ado, I'm going to start with Courtney. And the meeting is going to be recorded, so just so people know, we're being recorded. But Courtney, if you would be able to unmute and just share a little bit about
recording in progress.
Thank you, Mary. About the organization and programs, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you guys so much for having me last minute. I appreciate it. Melinda, I was wondering, do I have capacity to share screen at all?
You sure do. You should be able to.
Great. We'll see if I actually can do it. This is going to be a fun game for all of us. So thank you guys again for having me, and hopefully if I'm able to share my screen, I'll be able to show you guys, and maybe I won't be able to, a little bit about our organization. I was coming here with the intention to kind of give you guys an overview of what our organization does. But I am going to highlight some specific programs that I think are the most relevant in regards to kind of community partnership and resource referral. So the Franklin Grand Isle Restorative Justice Center is an organization I've been with for 10 years now. This November is going to be my 10-year anniversary.
Yay!
And yeah, it's wild, honestly. Oh, I didn't want to admit that out loud, but 10 years. Woo. So back when I first started, we were two separate organizations. We were a justice center, and then we were a court diversion program. 8 years ago, we merged to become the Franklin Grand Isle Restorative Justice Center, and since then, our programs have greatly expanded. We are grant funded through 4 different grants. They are the Department of Corrections, Attorney General's Office, DCF, and a VOCA grant that supports our victim-centered work that we do. We are fully staffed, which, thank the Lord. We are fully staffed with 12 amazing employees, and I'm gonna go through some of the programs that these individuals run, but not all of them. And I encourage you guys, if you ever have any questions, feel free to always reach out to us about our programs. We are more than happy to come visit, to network, to educate, to support whatever way that we can help a great community. So one of the first programs I wanted to talk to you about is our COSA program. I'm starting with COSA because I have at least 2 long-term volunteers here present for the meeting, which we couldn't do our work without, Kristen and Melinda. Our COSA program is a program that helps support individuals that are coming out of incarceration. It pairs one core member, that's the term that we use, it pairs one core member with 3 community volunteers, and they create this support network for this individual. They meet once a week for a year, and their intention is just to help support individuals while they're returning into our community. And that looks like a variety of different things. It addresses the crime that they committed for why they were incarcerated. It looks at what the needs are that the individuals currently have, and it plans for a successful future. It's an incredibly intense program, but it is so successful and beneficial for individuals that are coming back into our community with less than a supportive environment or no supports at all. So that's our COSA program, one I really wanted to highlight. Another program that was important to mention is our transitional housing program. I don't know if the community knows, but Franklin Grandial runs a 10-bed transitional housing program for men that are coming out of incarceration. We're right here in town. We've been here doing that work. Well, we've expanded. When I first started, we had like 5 beds, but now we have 10. And I would not like any more. 10 is a very easy number for me. I'm fine with 10. And our program works with these 10 individuals, again, that are coming out of incarceration, and we do wrapped case management. This is where you might see within our organization us reaching out to you guys, our amazing community partners, a lot, because what we're doing is we're plugging in supports for these individuals, and it's incredibly individualized based on what the person needs. Do they need mat support? Do they need counseling support? You know, do they need assistance with DCF cases? Whatever the case might be. They need us to take them grocery shopping. Literally anything under the sun. We went fishing last week on the last nice day that we had, and we had a great time. So fully wrapped support for these 10 individuals. Referrals come from caseworkers in facility. We always have a wait list. As we know, housing is tough out there. So we always have a wait list for our program. Right now I think we have at least 6 to 7 individuals who are incarcerated waiting for a bed. And the only reason that they are still incarcerated, they've served their minimum time, but they are in jail because they have nowhere else to go. So they don't have approved housing. So we offer that opportunity for individuals to come out with a lot of support. So that's our transitional housing program. Our community vocational program. So this is something that a lot of our community partners can refer to. So while some of our other programs, we get our referrals from court systems, this is a community-based program that we welcome any community partners to make referrals to. Our vocational specialist, Rebecca Robinson, she's amazing. She is an individual who assists people with whatever vocational pursuits they want to explore. So does that mean that they want to get their CDL and they need help getting training for CDL, getting funding for CDL? She can do that. If it's help with welding, she can help with that. If it's getting a job, she can write resumes, she can do interview skills, she can do supportive while they're employed to make sure they stay employed. So, and then the other support that she offers that I don't think a lot of people know about is she offers hands-on assistance when it comes to applying to Social Security. As you guys know, the process for applying to Social Security is long and challenging, to say the least. This system is not easy, and for individuals that are struggling with disabilities, it makes it almost impossible for some people to be able to complete this process on their own. So Rebecca will start applications with them, gather all of their paperwork with them, fill out the paperwork with them, sit with them for interviews, be the point of contact for Social Security, help them get assistance to evaluations that they need, whatever the process is to help people get Social Security. she's here to do. So that's a service that I don't think many people know about, but is really needed in terms of a level of support for some of our folks in the community. And one of the last programs I'm going to mention, just in terms of community referrals, is our community housing program. So this program has Michelle West, which some of you guys might know. She's amazing. She's fantastic. She's our housing guru. Please no one ever take her from me. I couldn't handle it. She is an individual who works with people who are under corrections or have a history of being under corrections, and she helps them get housed. Like, literally, that's her whole job. She helps them get housed. She does housing applications with people. She helps find funding when they need funding for it. She does appeals with people who have been denied housing. She gets them into the motel-hotel program. She does outreach within the community. She helps them move into their apartment, like physically, even sometimes. So Michelle is an amazing asset to our community and also our organization in terms of helping individuals get housed safely and independently. One other just really important thing is that we moved recently. So in the past, people used to access us over at 120 North Main Street. We are now at 60 Lake Street. We are right next to the courthouse in a building called the St. Albans House. So we are always welcome for you guys to come and visit us or stop by, ask questions, get business cards, whatever you need. We are here to kind of work with you guys. So that's a really rapid fire presentation of our organization, but if you guys have any questions or need connections to anyone within our agency, please always feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to put my email in the chat as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. I was just telling Mary too when I was talking about your move that you also often have wonderful snacks there.
We believe in chocolate.
Yeah.
Very much so. Happy workers.
Awesome. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Courtney? And I think the only last thing I would ask, Courtney, can you give just a really brief overview of pretrial services, Tamarack, that type of thing, especially in light of any partners that were part of the SIM workshop, the Sequential Intercept Model workshop that we had done with Judge Arms and her team and Morrissey, and maybe just a brief overview of what those services are, just so, even though we can't refer to them, just so people have an idea. If they say, hey, I've been sent to pretrial, what does that mean?
Yeah, so the reason I hadn't highlighted pretrial is because I am not the best person to describe pretrial, but I have a handy flyer with notes on it that I'm going to read to you guys. But pretrial in Tamarack Services is a diversion program, and so these are programs where individuals are going to the judicial system. They have potentially pending charges. They've been identified as individuals who have barriers surrounding substance use or mental health. And so what happens is that they are referred to our agency, they are connected with a case manager, and the case manager's job is to connect them to our community partners and resources. So Sam Snyder, who hopefully will come to one of these one day to introduce himself if he hasn't already, he's our guy for pretrial in Tamarack. And so you guys as community partners might hear from him while he's attempting to connect individuals to those resources. And what he does is he makes that connection, he checks in with those resources just to make sure that they're still engaged. He doesn't need to know how it's going or any additional information, he just needs to know that they're engaged. He can then bring that information back to the courts, and then he can bring it to their lawyers and say, look, this person is actively working on getting, supports around their substance use. They're actively going into treatment, they're actively engaged, and that then demonstrates to the court that this individual is committed to creating some change and engaging with the supports that they need. So it's an amazing program, Pretrial in Tamarack, and it is one that we reach out and collaborate a lot with our community partners for, and we've had a really good response in terms of creating those relationships, which we're super grateful for. But Sam is our guy, and if you guys have any specific questions about that program, I would definitely refer you to him.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. That was perfect. And yeah, I know that. Like, I hear from Sam on the regular. I'm sure Sarah does. Howard Center, Savita, Turning Point. So just really grateful for that service offering in our community.
Yeah, I think that it's a really nice blend because we have people that are going through some really challenging times in the judicial system, and this is like that caring support piece that individuals need while they're trying to muddle through some of the hardest times of their lives, honestly. So it's an amazing support piece that we're able to offer.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you guys. I know I'm partnered with many of you guys before, so it was really good to see you guys. And again, feel free whenever you guys need to just reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Courtney. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. All right. So now I'm gonna switch over to Jess and ask you to share a little bit about community action, some housing info.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jess Graff. I'm the program director of Franklin Grandisle Community Action, which is a program of CVOEO. And we have several programs and services that we offer here at Community Action. We're located on 5 Lemna Drive. When you first walk into our space, our waiting room is set up as a free store, which is not an official program, but it is something that we do for fun. And we accept donations of household goods and clothing, outerwear, sneakers, shoes, and have racks and racks of clothing and shelves of objects out for the community to take. And we have people that come in just for that service. We give away, I would say, about 200 items of clothing a day. And as far as I can tell at this point, we take in about 1,000 articles of clothing a day. That might be an exaggeration, but it feels like 1,000 articles of clothing. Right now, we have a back room in the office, and there's just a pathway. At this point, it looks like we could use some support around hoarding. It can be a whole thing, and we are so grateful to have community volunteers that come and help us sort through that, and some great partnerships that help us get those items out the door. But we are gearing up in the next couple of weeks for the winter coat drive that we do in partnership with the Rotary and many other organizations. So just last year we had about 3,000 coats that we were able to receive and distribute. So over the next couple of weeks that will be available. So if you're working with people who need coats, we often have a rack of coats anyway that just come in through regular donations, but we'll be shifting to expand those options as we start to see those donations come in. So this time of year we also have a crisis fuel program that runs parallel to seasonal fuel. So we have assistance for folks who are needing fuel oil for heat, or also that program can help with utility disconnects if somebody has an electric disconnect and their electricity is tied into their home heating systems, which for the majority of people it is in some way, shape, or form. And so that program is up and running again now. And we have 2 staff. That program is available walk-in, but it's also available by phone. So there's no need to have clients who live in other parts of, far-reaching parts of the county come into the office for that. They can just call in and access that service. We have a Rebecca Moyer, who is the master of all things community action, and is actually retiring at the end of the month. So I'm in the process of working to hire for that open position. Rebecca has run our VITA tax program, which is a seasonal program that during tax season can help people file taxes for free. And we have volunteers that come in for that program as well. She also does our farm to family coupons seasonally, and she's a certified healthcare navigator. And then also just provides connection to resources, can help people with all sorts of paperwork, applications for at really almost anything, and can connect them to some of those smaller little pockets of resources and services available in the community as well. She's a safety net, if you will, that catches folks and finds out where to plug them in, and then does excellent hands-on support to get them there, or to gain them access to the resources they need. We also have a landlord liaison who works with landlords across our 2-county service region to connect them to resources that will better enable them to increase their tenancy opportunities, and also support them in really target their ability to work with people who are at risk of or experiencing homelessness, or holding a certain type of housing voucher, which can be tricky for landlords to negotiate. And so she's a great support to landlords. We have several staff that provide a variety of housing navigation and housing case management and housing retention work. We're the lead agency for coordinated entry, which I'll loop back to in a second after I mentioned that we also have a food shelf, Northwest Family Foods, that is open 5 days a week. It's open to the public from 12 till 2, Monday through Friday. And households can come twice a month for the most part. If they lack refrigeration, then they can come once a week. But for the most part, people come twice a month to the food shelf. And that's a very busy food shelf, and November is by and large the busiest month for us. And we will be offering, we do not offer Thanksgiving baskets or bags that have meal kits in them, but towards the end of the month, as we get nearer to the holiday, we do work to stock our shelves with all of the fixings for Thanksgiving meals, and people upon their visit to the food shelf during the month of November can stock up on those items, including we often are able to give turkeys to people, but that is very dependent on community donations, and so we've been really working on, November is an interesting issue of freezer space availability, so we're spending hopefully this week trying to sort out our freezer capacity. It's a balance of wanting to make sure that we have capacity to meet our daily needs for meat and frozen food distribution, and also have storage for turkeys, which are big and bulky and take up a lot of room in the freezers. So I'm hopeful that by next week we'd be ready to go and start sharing some flyers and information asking for turkey donations, because I know they're out in the stores now. So, and then I'm probably forgetting some of our programs and services, because frankly there's dozens of them and I did not get much sleep last night. So please forgive me if I've forgotten to mention your favorite community action program. And you can call me out on it later. We are the lead agency for coordinated entry, and what that means is that we are sort of the hub and the holders of homelessness response and prevention here in Franklin and Grand Isle counties. And coordinated entry is not a program that we offer. Coordinated entry is a process through which we connect people experiencing a housing crisis to resources and services to help resolve their housing crisis. And we do that through partnership with all of you, frankly, in some very organized ways as well as in some informal ways. Coordinated entry is a process where we bring people in, we do an assessment on them, which is a pretty hefty stack of papers where we ask them a lot of questions about their experiences and needs, and then through that information are able to coordinate and connect them with resources and services. For the month of October, we had 280 individuals enrolled in coordinated entry, which is 182 households. There were 61 children and 277 adults. That number stays pretty stagnant, really month to month we look at it, and though it's really consistently about the numbers that we have. It can vary a little, but over the past 4 or 5 years that I've been looking at that data month to month, it's about the same, which is really because it's a measure of system capacity. By and large, we have the people that are enrolled in coordinated entry are people who are receiving services, and case managers have full dockets, or they're people who are in shelter either with Ben or at the motels in our region that accept the motel voucher program through Economic Services Division. In this last month, October, we also did an informal point-in-time count. There is HUD mandates that we do a formal point-in-time count in the month of January, where we fill out an official form with individuals who are in shelter or unsheltered, it has always been a tricky time of year to do that because it's really the dead of winter, and this is really a time when people experiencing homelessness are doubled up in couch surfing, so hard to find, and also HUD does not allow us to count doubling up or couch surfing in our point in time count. So it was something that I always wanted to do a point in time count in October, and the Agency of Human Services asked communities to initiate this to try to get a better sense of what the current numbers of people who are unsheltered are. This also only looked at people who would meet Category 1, HUD's Category 1 definition of homelessness, so we did not count people who were doubled up for this. But we had volunteers from many organizations and agencies, and I did outreach to many others. I was able to connect with Notch, who was kind enough to run a report from their electronic medical records for us. We reached out to other service providers and some schools to try to get a solid estimate. This was different than our other point-in-time count because we didn't just count people that we spoke to and collected their information. We were able to count people that we observed, and so I think we got closer to an accurate count. And that count was 93 individuals who are unsheltered, primarily in Franklin County, but a handful in the islands. So. And that was 11 households living in cars or RVs, and 82 individuals living in tents or other makeshift shelters outdoors, which was almost double what our pet count numbers are in January, and I will say somewhat startling. Also just a very difficult time to be unsheltered in our community. Not only is it a time in Vermont where the weather is turning and it's cold and physically, frankly, dangerous and uncomfortable to be outside, but many of the individuals who we talked to during the couple of weeks that we were collecting this data were also struggling to find a place where they could set up their tent and sleep at night at a time when the community, private property owners, as well as city officials seem to be working to actively discourage and target places where people have been staying to change the landscapes there to discourage camping. So part of the reason for us wanting to look at this number is because there have been changes to this year's Economic Services Winter Weather Program. Historically, the General Assistance Program would open up motel rooms for folks in the winter months, usually from well, it used to be mid-November. This year it'll be December 1st through March 31st. That will allow them to have space that won't count towards people's 80 days, because right now there's a cap on the number of days that somebody can utilize, a household can utilize. And it also is a time period during which they won't have to be tied to the 1,100 statewide room cap, which are rules that were enacted by last year's legislators into law. And so they'll be able to expand availability of rooms for folks during those very cold months. However, the legislature also created a new layer this year, which is that in order to come into the motels during that time period, you have to meet a category of eligibility, which has been true right now, but historically the category of eligibility was lifted. And so we are working with folks who are unsheltered and trying to make sure that they're aware that they'll need a category of eligibility in order to come in during those winter months. And those categories are really targeted at, for sure, prioritizing that very vulnerable individuals have space and shelter. Because even without the room cap, there's sort of a natural capacity that happens with hotels being full and only certain hotels being willing to accept or participate in the program. And so those categories would include, and I should have pulled this up on my other screen because my ability to remember all of it might be somewhat impaired by my lack of sleep. But they include an individual over the age of 65, a household who has a member who is pregnant, and a household that includes a child under the age of 18 or 19 and still enrolled in an education program. A household where there's a member who receives Social Security disability income. It includes catastrophic loss, so a household who's been displaced by fire, flood, or other natural disaster. That does not include people who are experiencing homelessness, though. So if you're living in a tent and it burns down, or if you're in an RV and that RV catches fire and you're displaced, it does not typically include that group of folks. It also would include someone who had a constructive court-ordered eviction, so people being evicted who don't have another place to stay. And then there is also, for if there's a person who does not, fleeing domestic and sexual violence, please anybody, if I'm missing a category that you're aware of, let me know. And then if a person does not meet any of those categories of eligibility, there's another category that is a person who has a disabling health condition. However, that category requires documentation. There's a form that needs to be filled out by a licensed, credentialed clinician. It doesn't have to necessarily be a doctor, but it can be really any licensed clinician. And it requires the provider to identify just sort of generally what the health condition is. They don't have to add a lot of detail about that. And they have to indicate that the health condition is significant enough that it really puts them at risk were the household to remain unsheltered or outside. So some examples of this might be a person who has diabetes and requires insulin and does not have an alternative place to keep their insulin, and the insulin freezing would be, or overheating, depending on what time of year it was, would put them at significant risk. Other examples might be somebody who uses a CPAP machine at night and requires that electricity to run that machine. There's really the full gamut of conditions, as long as the clinician interprets that that condition puts them at risk for unsheltered homelessness, which it's hard, frankly, for me to imagine an exception to that, because unsheltered homelessness is in and of itself a health risk. And yeah, I think that's all for me, Melinda.
Jess, thank you so much.
I have one little question from the very beginning when you said you're going to be doing a coat drive. Is there any particular size coat that is, I don't know, you like to get, like, I don't know, these are the ones, the size that get snapped up the quickest, or?
I would say that actually one of the really fun things about the coat drive is the diversity of coats that come in, and watching a person match their and find their perfect coat, all the colors and sizes. But for sure, the extra large sizes, and the XXLs and above are often in high demand, and probably the thing that we run out of the most that people ask for. So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jess? One thing I'll probe at, Jess, I mentioned it yesterday too. I'm gonna put in the chat those links that were put in yesterday's meeting chat about the 2 family shelters in the state of Vermont, just because we don't have a family shelter here in Franklin and Grand Isle County. And didn't know if you could possibly just share a brief overview of that.
Yes, and Kristen will help me, because the field service directors and other agency community service staff have been really stepping up and taking that on. But with the limit of 80 days on the amount of time that a household can stay in the motel, the state was seeing that there were cases where households with children were having to exit the motels and had no other option but to be living outside, which became even more problematic when the state closes its campgrounds. So there's a hard stop on any type of camping activity, formal camping activity in Vermont of mid-October. And so as they saw many families end up camping, they opened up, for example, North Beach and Chittenden County and Burlington for some overflow for families with children. And it just became very apparent that they had some households with that were in dire need of shelter options, and all statewide the shelters are full. And there are few shelters that have space for families with children to begin with, including in our region. We don't have a shelter that specializes in family shelter, with the exception of Voices Against Violence Warriors House does have some shelter space for households with children. And so it is striving to open up 4 shelters targeting this group, and has so far been successful in opening 2, one in Waterbury and one in Williston, with a capacity at this point for 17 households, and a goal to open up an additional 2, one in Washington County and the other in Rutland, but is still working to coordinate a location in Washington County and a provider in Rutland County that can run those. And Melinda put the information in the chat, which has the phone number or contact information where people can reach out if they are in need of access to those shelters. I did reach out this morning to the staff at AHS and try to get an estimate of what the current capacity was, and I've not been able to get that. I think the staff are still scrambling. Just opened last Friday, so it's only been a few days, and I think everybody's still scrambling and settling into just operations and welcoming households into those spaces.
Very good job, Jess. The only thing I would add is that I think I heard yesterday afternoon that Williston, which has the capacity for 7 households, has 2 openings still, and Waterbury still has openings. But yeah, it's really great that families can call or email themselves to find out about that resource and just decide if it makes sense for them. And so I would encourage you to get that number out to families, anybody working with families in hotels, families that are literally homeless, like going into that shelter might be a better option for them. It might not. I mean, every case is so unique and so individual, but we're trying really hard.
Thank you. I'm really glad that there's family shelter, because I know Chris and we've been talking about it for decades, so it has arrived. Is there opportunities that they will keep expanding to have ones in each county? Is that like the hope in the future, or just in,
For right now,
regional?
This is our plan to get through this winter. I don't think we have any long-term planning. I mean, we did a $10 million NOFA, and there are things coming down that pipe. Like locally, Lori's House and Champlain Housing Trust was able to purchase Back in Time, which is B&B, used to be. Now it's going to be the second Lori's House. So that's really helpful. And things like that are happening all over the state as a result of that $10 million NOFA. The Spectrum Youth and Family Shelter that we're going to be opening is also a product of that, so that's a piece of it. So things are coming online, but as far as family shelter in every district, I don't think that's the goal, and these 4 are the 4 that we're trying to open and then hold these families until the end of March.
Okay.
And provide services on site. Once we get to know the families and kind of put a team-based care model wrap on them, doing assessments on what they need, and then getting those providers to come to them in Williston and Waterbury. And if they choose to stay for that length of time, that's a pretty good concentrated length of time to work with people to hopefully, get them the things they need, shore them up to get them into housing if that's what they're trying to do. And I'm hoping that that's what they're all trying to do. The statewide number was 47, which I'm not sure that really represents it. There's some numbers that we're not sure about, like in Memorial. We rarely have any kids outside, but last Friday they told me there were 15. And I was like, we gotta recheck that number, that's really high, and it actually is 10. We have 2 families in campers and 1 family in a commercial space with no electricity or no water. And so those are not good situations because most campers are not made to be lived in the winter in Vermont.
I'll add that I think I forgot to include when I was giving the data about our unsheltered point in time count, that of the 93 individuals that we found, none of them were children in our region. And so although we have children experiencing homelessness or experiencing displacement, staying with friends or family while their parents navigate their housing instability, we do not, to our knowledge, have any children who are in unsheltered situations. They're either sheltered or doubled up with friends or family in our region. And so those 4 locations that the state picked to prioritize family shelter space were also based on data that was collected, a statewide snapshot of where households with unsheltered children were. And then those locations were matched to the areas that had the most significant numbers of unsheltered children.
I just have one more question. Kristen, you referred to NOFA. Can you just tell us what that acronym means?
All right.
Oh.
It's Notice of Funding Availability.
Thank you.
Right. And so what I can tell you, these are my talking points, that we've expanded by 100 shelter beds over the past year with at least 100 more in the pipeline for the next several months. But we continue to face the challenges of the people to run them and the buildings to house them and the community to host them. So the NOFA had 14 applications for over $36 million in potential projects. And I sat on the first look at those to kind of rate them for the secretary and the rest of the people who actually decided which ones they'd fund and which ones they wouldn't. We chose 6 of those 14 applications totaling 11 million. And so a lot of stuff is coming out of that, like Back in Time, Spectrum Youth and Family Services. Rutland had a really big, very collaborative project that was already in the works that we added to. And so there's a whole lot of stuff happening in that NOFA. Those projects are starting to get off the ground now and to start moving. In September of 2023, the state-funded emergency shelter household capacity totaled 436. As of today, there is a capacity for 541 households. And we've invested more than $26 million in state and federal through housing opportunity grants to provide shelter and services in our traditional shelter bed system to 35 nonprofit organizations across the state. So we're working hard on it, but the bottom line is we can't build housing fast enough to build ourselves out of this. But we're slowly starting to house people, and that feels really good.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys. I'm going to turn it over to Ben. Ben, thank you again as always. I feel like I reach out last minute for various projects and you've never said no. And I so appreciate you for that. So if you want to give an overview of Samaritan House and Tim's house, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's my rule. You don't say no to Melinda.
I know. I was just thinking that.
I will say, don't put me after Jess and Courtney. They're both like prepared and diligent and well spoken. And I came in this morning and I was like, I'm just gonna wing it. Let me go first next time so I don't look this bad. Bear with me, everyone. We had a particularly tough night in the shelter. I was here till like 1 a.m. and doom scrolled for 2 or 3 hours when I got home. And my 18-month-old has not grasped the nuances of daylight savings time yet. So I am not running on much sleep here. But yeah, my name's Ben Kaufman. I am the program director of the Samaritan House. Like Jess, we're a program of CBOEO. And what we're primarily known for, our biggest thing day to day is we operate Tim's House Emergency Shelter. Tim's House is now, hasn't always been this way, but is now an adult only shelter, so 18 and over. And we are low barrier for admission. And what that means is there is nothing criminally, that would keep somebody out of here. The only reason we would deny someone over the age of 18 who is eligible for a stay in a homeless shelter is if they have an active no trespass order. And multiple times a year, someone who does have one comes and meets with us, and we make a safety plan and we rescind it. So really anybody can come in. Once somebody is in the shelter, we're a little more strict. There are rules they have to follow. There is a curfew. There are case management expectations. So once someone's in here, they really need to kind of get going on working on whatever their barriers to housing are. And oftentimes it's not just housing, there are other things. And because we have, a pretty good handful of rules and a low barrier admission, in a typical year, our rate of success, and what we mean by success is someone who comes into shelter and then leaves into their own apartment or their own stable housing of some kind. It's generally around 25%, about 1 in 4. So far this fiscal year, since July, we're a little above that. 12 out of 33 who have left the shelter have done so into their own housing, but that's the reality. That's about the number, somewhere in the 25-35% range of folks who come in, end up leaving here into their own housing. Obviously, there's a number of barriers, and as everyone probably on this meeting knows, we don't have enough wraparound services that are adequate throughout the state. Most of those 75% who don't make it in shelter shouldn't be here. They should be in an inpatient substance use center for longer than 14 days. They should be in an inpatient mental health facility where they can get, the care they need. We don't provide that. We just kind of give everyone a shot and hope for the best. So that's our biggest need in my eyes throughout the state. And I know we're all feeling this morning like, hey, more money's going to come for social services now. But that is what we need. So I'll drop that ray of sunshine in there. Significant lack of housing, and that's led to super long shelter stays for us. I've been here 5 years. When I started, the average shelter stay was 45 days. Last year, out of the people who moved from shelter into permanent housing, the average length of stay was 174 days, with a long of 427. So that's what we're looking at. Among all guests, even those who come and leave after 3 nights or we have to remove them, the average length of stay is 99 days. So it's just an incredibly long time for people to be in here. But what that means is our wait list is really long. So if you have clients who are experiencing homelessness, you should send them to us. We fill out a quick intake form and get them on our wait list. Right now there's 71 people on our wait list. Among those who are unsheltered, the wait is probably 60 to 90 days. Anyone in any other kind of category of homelessness, couch surfing, motels, I don't see a time when they're getting into Tim's house anytime soon. We have so many unsheltered people, or people living in places not meant for habitation. So it's a little grim. Tim's house is a 16-room, 20-bed shelter, and I invite anyone to come by and see it sometime. We renovated about a year ago, going from congregate setting with 4 beds to a room to all private rooms. And that's been a great change. Our involuntary removals are way down, like 20% down, as far as the number of people in a given time period we have to ask to leave shelter. So that's been a real blessing. It's giving people space to heal from the trauma of being homeless and hopefully stay in shelter longer until they can find housing. So if you've seen Tim's house, but it was more than 2 years ago, come by again. You have standing invitation, come by and see us. A few other things that we do have 2 staff who are based at Jess's Office of Community Action, case management, for people who are in motels. And one thing I just want to mention about the shelter, I know I'm going to be all over the place. There is no, as you can probably tell from that average length of stay, there's no maximum. Once somebody comes in here, their bed is theirs. They don't have to leave during the day. They don't have to leave and check back in. As long as they're following the safety rules and meeting with the case manager once a week, the bed is theirs as long as they need it. And we don't have, we do have a lot of rules. I won't go through them with you all. We do have a curfew of 10 o'clock. We don't have a specific rule about intoxication, but people can't have substances on property. And our standard is they need to be able to care for themselves. So we don't breathalyze at the door, we don't drug test, but if somebody's unable to care for themselves, especially in a private bedroom, we have to come up with a safety plan for them. And in addition to some motel case management, we also operate the lobby as a drop-in center when we're open Monday to Friday, 8 to 4:30. Anybody at all, no questions asked, no ID, no proof of income, can come in, get a cup of coffee, do a load of laundry, take a shower, just get out of the elements. We're just open to everyone for that. They can access a computer, a phone. So please, if you have people who are stuck during the day and feel like they keep getting kicked out of places, the Samaritan House lobby is a pretty good resource for those folks. I think that's a real quick one. I know we're running late, so I just wanted to give kind of a quick overview. Yeah, long waiting list, but yeah, I think that's the nuts and bolts of it. I know we're running late on time, so I guess I'd stop here and ask if anyone has any questions about Tim's House or any other Samaritan House services.
Thank you so much, Ben. And just for like an FYI, I only asked Ben to do like 5 to 10 minutes, so you did perfect. It was beautiful. The only other thing I'd ask you to highlight is, say, like a year ago versus now, the present, the volume of people that you guys see on a given day for the drop-in. What is? I know the answer, but what does that look like now?
Yeah, great question. So we started this like drop-in center just because it was needed. People were just coming to us who had nowhere else to go. It wasn't a service we intended to offer or that we get funded for. And the first time we started really tracking it, when we had some donations, we just put out ID bids in the lobby. We were getting 30 to 40 people a month, and now it's steadily above 250. 250 unique visits, not 250 unique people. But to come in and shower, laundry, we have a few snacks. The coffee pot was the biggest game changer for us. That shot us up for like 100 to 200 visits a month when we put a coffee pot in the lobby. So yeah, we get a ton of people in here throughout the day, and that's great. It also gives us a chance to talk about shelter and maybe warm people up. Again, when I started here, breathalyzers at the door, you had to be gone all day, random drug tests, very, very strict shelter. And so a lot of people say, oh, I'm not going to Tim's house, I don't want to leave during the day in the winter. And if they're coming to the drop-in center, we get to tell them what it's like now. And one other thing to touch on really quickly, just because I'm seeing some faces around the room. We've had really great luck with a lot of people in this room and others in the community. We're really lucky all these service providers exist, but we've had a lot of luck bringing services to our clients. So you guys are sitting at NCSS, they were one of the first ones to jump on with us. And when we expressed that our clients needed support for mental health, and they were never going to make an appointment on Fisher Pond Road, that we set up for them. So first Matt and now Nicole are here once a week, more if needed, to meet guests where they are. Looking at Sarah Hull from Savita, she's here after our house meeting every week. Randy at Turning Point is here once a week right now, running a recovery meeting at night. He was just here last night. And Melinda's first on my speed dial, that's why I can't say no to her when she asks me on Tuesday to give a presentation Wednesday morning. We feel really fortunate if there are any of you thinking that you may have an offering that would help our clients, and that it'd be best, especially if you met them here at shelter and cut out that transportation barrier. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Awesome, thank you, Ben. Where do you get your coffee from?
Catalyst donated all of our coffee to Startup. Robert Giles, who works in our front desk, is just great at getting out in the community. And, we've done a lot of work in the last 6 months, especially with the tensions in the community prior to last night about homelessness and theft and property crime. We've tried to be really forward-facing. We've hosted a couple of green up days, and we just get out there. In general, the community is great. What we see on social media is just not an accurate depiction of St. Albans and Franklin County as a whole. So he walked over to Catalyst and said, hey, we're going through more coffee than we can afford. And they provided some. And, we started working with them. He also went over to Kaiju Kitchen and was just talking with Emily, who was having lunch, and mentioned how many supplies we go through, the amount of creamer and sugar and cups. And they said, all right, we'll send you some money every month to pay for that. So we get it from the community. We live in a great community. We don't ever have to worry about food for our clients because we've got Jess in the food shop, we've got Martha's. It's something we're so blessed with, that if someone has a substance use issue, Sarah and Melinda and Randy someone has mental health, you know, everyone at NCSS is so great. If someone's hungry, Bob Begley. We just get to focus on running a shelter and getting people housed, and I talk to other shelter directors throughout the state, and they don't live in communities like that. They don't have that. They have to be everything to everyone. And I'm just really glad that when someone's trying to navigate the court system, I can call Courtney and I don't have to figure it out.
Awesome.
Eric?
Is your drop-in bin, is that 7 days a week or just 5 days, just weekdays?
No, great question, John. That is 5 days a week. So we're open Monday to Friday, 8 to 4:30. The shelter is open to the guests 24/7, but the actual drop-in center in the lobby is Monday to Friday, 8 to 4:30.
And where do you stand with pets?
Great question. We are now fully pet friendly. We switched that when we did the single rooms. The only caveat, we have 2 now. I had to add a new caveat because we had so many come in that we are putting a limit on it in our 16-room shelter of 5 pets, because I didn't foresee that being a need, but we have 5 here right now. Yeah, we were turning people away from shelter because they didn't want to leave their pets, and I can tell you when I was, you know, at my lowest, I wouldn't have left my dog.
Yeah.
So the only caveat, other than the full shelter limit, is they have to have the pet when they get on our wait list. We don't want someone who doesn't have anywhere to live and is struggling to care for themselves to say, oh cool, Samaritan House allows pets, I'm gonna see if I can track down a dog. That's a terrible idea. But if they have the pet with them, you know, and that's their companion, it's been great. We've had like no pet issues in almost a year now that we've been doing this. So we also see a higher rate of clients that come in with pets who end up in stable housing. That's above our 25% average. So thank you for asking that.
Awesome. And I see Aaron's hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to then thank you for connecting about or sharing about the community's response and both the ways that the community has come together to support folks experiencing homelessness and substance use and the housing crisis, and also just recognizing that there are some headwinds that we face as a community to make sure that folks are safe in our community. And there are opportunities to, if folks are, I think many folks on this call are probably already in my email list that I'm helping facilitate. There's some folks that are meeting virtually every other Friday. We're meeting again, I believe this Friday, at 12 online. It's, you know, we're building momentum. There's been some small pieces of work that have happened. Certainly the weekend cleanups have been a big part of it. And that's not necessarily coming out of that group, but it's just an example of the kind of work that we're looking to do. But if you're interested in being involved in a conversation that's geared towards promoting community resilience, reducing stigma, and trying to find ways to bring us together for sustainable solutions while reducing harm, feel free to, and you're not already part of that email list, feel free to put your email in the chat. I'm happy to send you an invite. You know, I'm acting as a facilitator. This is not my work per se. This is the work of the community, and I'm just helping with that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Erin.
Thanks, Erin.
And thank you, Ben. Awesome job. And thank you for highlighting the volume of people. That's why I asked that question. Like, your team is doing a ton of work, far above and beyond the funding or the call of duty, and yet that's what your team does because you're amazing and you care about people. And then also I had wanted to mention that whole, where do you get your coffee from? Just to show that many community members will message, they'll find me on Facebook and say, well, I don't know anything about housing or addiction, but I want to help somehow. And everybody's got something to offer. You know, somebody who's a business owner that has food or coffee, well, you can just make a donation. You know, you don't have to counsel people on recovery. Just make, and that's the way like the community comes together. And it's just so beautiful that we have that in this community. Are there any other questions for, I know we've run over, but that's okay because that's what the weekly updates are for. And Erin is reminding people through the chat that if you'd like to join the meeting, the next one is Friday, to make sure she has your email address or reach out to her. And she's in the master listserv that gets sent out as well.
Recording stopped.
Thank you, Super Mary. And we have initiatives, announcements. One thing I'll kind of do just really quickly is pull up a flyer for anybody familiar with the Vermont Adult and Teen Challenge. They have their annual banquet coming up on November 16th. I think it was in the updates too. Thank you, Chad. And thank you to Chad for doing these updates. He makes them look so much better than I do. So just wanted to put in a plug for that. Anybody who wants to go either per person or as a table to support them. Are there any initiatives, upcoming events, announcements that people would like to share before we close? Yes, Tracy.
I'd like to mention, so for any of you that knew us as Franklin County Home Health, we lived over on Home Health Circle for many, many years, but our office has actually moved onto Main Street, so we're at 8 North Main Street at this point. And I just wanted to mention we are doing an open house December 12th. I think it's 5:30 to 7:30, I believe. That we're going to welcome anybody to come in and see the space and know where we are, and there will be many of us that work there that will be in the building, as well as our counterparts from Rutland will be up as well, helping to welcome people. So just wanted to throw out there that we're doing the open house on the 12th of December.
Awesome. And if you want to email us too, we can share it through the weekly updates.
I will send it to you. Yep.
Perfect, thank you. And I see in the chat, Samaritan House is hosting a free expungement clinic, and I did hear about this. Does anybody want to share a little bit about that? The when and?
Yeah, it is in December. I've got a flyer that I will send you, Melinda, and I'm going to drop Robert Giles' email in the chat right now. He is the one kind of putting that all together. But yes, and wherever you're working, if you have clients who think they may be eligible to have older crimes expunged off their record, I know I'm going to give it a shot. Yeah, send Robert an email, and they're going to open that up for registration pretty soon. So I'll drop his info in the chat right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other updates, announcements? And again, if you have anything that comes up, feel free to email us at the fgicpartnership@gmail.com email address. We'll make sure that your announcements and updates get sent out on the weekly. And again, just a huge thank you to Courtney, Jess, and Ben for presenting, especially with such short notice. And then send some prayers and positive thoughts out to Candace and her family that they can heal quickly from COVID. And another big thank you also to Danielle and Chad for joining our PELT team and just being so active and hitting the ground running. Just really grateful for everybody who showed up today. So we will see you next month. Again, friendly reminder, it is not the first Wednesday. It is the second Wednesday. December 7th will be our meeting with our legislators, and we'll be starting a half hour early and ending a half hour early. So again, it's 8 to 8:30 is networking and arrival and cookie delivery and tasting. And then from 8:30 to 10 will be the meeting with our legislators.
So come in person.
Yeah, come in
bring
person
cookies.
and bring cookies. Awesome. And somebody can bring carrots or something. Fruit and vegetable group.
Carrot cookies.
Yeah, carrot cake.
Carrot cake.
There we go.
Carrot cake.
All right, with that, everybody have a wonderful day.